This is Mickey 17, a sci-fi adventure about a guy who's expendable and goes out into space dying over and over again so that his crew can research, figure things out, and generally just have fun destroying him. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well, and again, comments and all that. Let me know if you want to see more movie reviews on the channel, as it's something I can look forward to adding over time as we do get some screenings. It was nice to finally have a screening again from Warner Brothers. I got to go sit in the fancy VIP seating for the first time from Cineplex, which was pretty sweet, and I got to dive in and enjoy the magic that was Mickey 17. So this is a Robert Pattinson-driven experience where he plays Mickey, an individual that has problems on Earth and basically needs to get away. He's on this ridiculous, extravagant in the sense that the man running the whole operation, played by Ruffalo, is basically, you can tell who he's trying to be performing as, which is a little on the nose, as to say, but he is over-the-top ridiculous man that has a equally crazy sort of wife and supporting cast around him. And yeah, Ruffalo is basically doing this far-reaching expedition to go and colonize a new place for, him and his way of living and all that. And then, yeah, basically, Mickey has troubles on Earth and needs to escape them and kind of signs up to be the one expendable dude. His buddy gets a little bit of a better deal, and yeah, basically, you just get to see all of the really messed up things that they do to him. This is a sci-fi adventure. It's dark, it's mature. There is interactions with nudity involved in regards to characters exploring one another in interesting ways. If you are kind of wondering about the maturity level, and there are some pretty gruesome and violent things going on, it is a comedy, first and foremost, so it is a dark space comedy. There are quite a few moments that are actually rather hilarious. Some of them didn't really seem to fully hit with the audience in the theater, though. Some of it was pretty quiet. And I would say, as a starting part, it's really quite interesting. It establishes what's happening to him, how did he get in this situation. The first 60% of the movie or so is really, really well done, engaging, interesting. And then it's kind of when it gets to the point of basically something happens and there's more Mickeys than meets the eye, and they never really play around with that concept at all, and it just sort of it does. It's about 60% or so of the way in, and it kind of trails off a bit. It's still a rather enjoyable film. It's still got a lot of interesting moments, some action, it's a bit of a love story, and it's kind of predictable too. Right off the bat, I kind of figured out what exactly was kind of going to happen in it. I was like, oh, okay, and it didn't really have any twists or any turns. It was a pretty straightforward, kind of typical sci-fi love story, I guess, in space. And, there definitely was a good job in selling the romance, and the performance from Pattinson here is absolutely excellent. The guy has been getting really, really great. I think a lot of people probably know him from, Twilight or, say, as Batman more recently, but, things like The Lighthouse and stuff like that. Really, really great performances. I think he gives another excellent one here. A very believable characters. He's kind of it's a little different because as you go through, and he kind of just keeps getting printed. His whole point is he's expendable. When they need to test something, when they need someone to do something dangerous, they send him out to do it. And all these other people are on this ship, and you're getting limited amounts of nutrition. It's not a great experience being on this spaceship for years, and going so far away from Earth to this planet that's got some fun little twists and turns to the planet itself. Obviously, you're not just gonna go and find something cozy and easy going. There's gonna be problems along the way. That's what keeps movies interesting, and there's some cool stuff on the planet that I won't dive into and spoil, but it's all fun. But yeah, basically he gives a really good balanced kind of performance here, where his character, there's a lot of nuance to it, and his specific voice is kind of it's very different, kind of a little silly, a little fun, a little whimsical, and they play on that as the movie goes on, especially with the Mickey and how Mickey deals with the situations going on. And some of it is actually, like I said, I got some good laughs. It's a very, very dark humor because of the things that they are doing to this guy. And they really do, him and Nash. They really sell the romance there, especially between the two characters and how they interact. But the other thing too was like there's all these like secondary characters and stuff, and some of them just really kind of come in and they seem like they're a big part of it, and then they just kind of get dropped. And that's what I was saying, like about 60% of the way in or so, there's just this point where it's like they're setting up a really interesting premise where they could be playing around with the idea of like how do you deal with the situation here of Mickey's, and it just kind of immediately gets like thrown. It just kind of jumps along, and there's no kind of build up in regards to like playing around with that concept. Like it would be really really cool because there's all these rules about what can or cannot be done in regards to like the cloning of people or the reprinting of people, and like it's a neat concept honestly, and they kind of have fun with it and they do things with it. But like it just could have been a lot more interesting and dynamic seeing them kind of deal with the Mickeys of it, and they just kind of skip along, and it doesn't really matter, and it's just kind of a very easy, cozy movie. Like it's got good pacing, it sounds nice, the visuals are fantastic. I would say everything in it looks very realistic. Like sometimes it'd be like, oh, the quality of the CGI, blah, blah. Everything in this was very visually believable, very well shot. It looked aesthetically pleasing for a place that was grungy, mostly depressing, and not a place you'd want to probably spend. I think the journey was 4.5, about 5 years to get where they wanted. And I don't even know if the end result was great, but they got all these like cult like things kind of going on too with the ship, and the premise is really really quite interesting. I don't know if it's necessarily a new concept or is it not necessarily a novel concept. Multiplicity was kind of thrown around as a similar kind of thing, but it's got a great lead character. It's got interesting supporting characters that I wish they did a little bit more with, and then it's got an ending that's satisfying and fun and easygoing. Like it's a fine watch. It's an enjoyable experience. I think the premise they could have done a lot more with just like the mystery of things and stuff like that. It seemed like it had all this momentum going on, and there was a certain point where I was just kind of like, okay, I know where this is going, and there wasn't any more big surprises or changes coming. And then it ended, and I was like, okay, cool, fun, enjoyable, not bad. Something I'd probably recommend. I think it's a fun, enjoyable time. But yeah, there was just this extra little bit of depth that I was kind of hoping that the film would have, that it just kind of didn't. But I still think it's an enjoyable experience. It's good for sci-fi. It looks great. It's well set up. The acting and performances in it are excellent, and it's a very believable, dystopian, terrible sci-fi world that has been created here. And I think they nailed it from that perspective. So I would give this one a 7.2 out of 10. You could probably read my full written review in the video description below. And I guess it would be cool to chat about it. And again, liking the video and all that's great if you want to see more movie reviews, as they would be fun to dive into. And that was Mickey 17, Mickey 18, Mickey 17 and a half. Guess you'll have to find out in space.